What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ARP in the morning, man. I hope all is well with you guys, man. Happy Thursday to you. Appreciate everybody that has pulled up thus far, man. Please make sure you all hit that like button for me. We have a pretty good show today. We got to talk about mainstream media, imploding in real time, as their latest anti-Trump propaganda effort completely backfires. We got a lot to get into today, but before we do so, let me make sure that I show some love to my folks in the chat. We got 91 people in the building kicking things off, which is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Let's make sure that we hit that like button on the way in. Shout out to Scott Jung. Let me showcase. Let me shout out to Scott Jung, man. Good morning and God bless. 8:03 in the morning. Shout out to you, man. Thank you very much, man. First person in the chat this morning at 8:03. Almost an hour and a half before we get the show kicked off, man. Appreciate you pulling up this morning, Scott. Thank you very much. What up, Zephyr? How you doing this morning? Look at she in the chat at 8:10. Shout out to you, sister. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. What up, Big Job Ford? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What's going on, Nanny's Take on the World? Appreciate you pulling up this morning as well. What up, Lori Otteson, Redefine Queen, PK Krillin, Thea Flies High, Marianne, how you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Regina? How you doing this morning? Thank you for pulling up this morning. What up, Ginger Snaps Actress? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Springfield, Missouri checking in. Shout out to you. Appreciate you, as well. Let's see. We're going to get through here. I want to make sure I, show some love to my folks in the chat. What up, Shelby? How you doing this morning? What's up, Delinda? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. We got Queen Chloe in the house. Shout out to you. Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Brian? How you doing this morning? Marta, how you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Quincy? Quincy James in the house early today. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. What up, George? How you doing this morning? Idaho in the house. All right. Yeah, man, we got a little bit to talk about. We're not gonna go as long as we did yesterday. I think yesterday was long. It was a long show, man. Almost 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours yesterday. Long show. We're not gonna go as long as we did yesterday. But I definitely appreciate you guys, man, hanging in there and rocking with me. It's a tough show yesterday. Shout out to Eric Smith that pulled up yesterday. Shout out to him, that pulled up yesterday. That was pretty dope. It's good to have a good conversation. We don't always have to agree, but I think civil discourse, I think it's important, man. And I think that's a lot of the problems, that we have going on in this country right now is that we're not talking to each other. There's not enough conversation. There's a lot of echo chambers, but not enough conversation going on, man. What's up, Buddha? How you doing this morning? Billy W, how you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Distorted One, appreciate you pulling up. What up, Cool Ramon? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Dr. Mama? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Light Fountain? What up, my guy, MJ in the building? Shout out to you, brother. Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Leonardo? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Baby Lungs? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. Toy Mafia in the building. Appreciate you pulling up. Quincy James says the cold front, came in late. Yeah. Up here, it was like 70s, 80s, and the next thing you know, we're back down, into the 30s. This morning, I get up to go to the gym this morning. We're in the 30s. What's up, Diane? How you doing this morning? I appreciate you enjoying the music. That's a righteous perspective. That is the channel theme song. Appreciate you. What up, Christina? How you doing this morning? Texas in the house. What's going on, Nelly? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Appreciate it. What up, K Shay? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Bruce? New World Island, Newfoundland. Wow. Okay. Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Kenneth? How you doing this morning? Hey, Kenneth, the email address is admin_wise@proton.me. But if you look in the description box of all the videos, there is my contact information is in those videos. If you just check out the description box in any of the videos, you'll see it in there. But yeah, admin_wise@proton.me. What's up, Josh? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Krista? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. All right. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Is it Ozzy Mendias? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Sharon Cook? How you doing this morning? We got Is it Corrine Easley? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Tina Hall? What's going on, Theo? How you doing this morning, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. Cat K in the house. Spaniard in the building. Appreciate you pulling up. Kevin Caldwell, what's going on? Joyce, is it Kosis? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name properly. What's up, Christy? How you doing this morning? Shot-town in the building. What up, R. Rendales? Appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Marla? How you doing this morning? Davila, appreciate you pulling up this morning. Brooklyn, New York in the house. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Shout out to John Gardner, Redmond, Oregon in the house. KH Performance, Horses, appreciate you pulling up this morning. We got a cowgirl in the house. Appreciate you pulling up. Shout out to R. Rendales with the $2 super sticker. Thank you very much, man. God bless you. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I believe tomorrow we are going to do a panel. I got to reach out to a couple of people to see if they are available. I know my guy Kenneth said he wanted to be a part of it, so we'll see if we can get him on. We'll do, what I'm doing, for a little bit, and then we'll get the panel in, a little afterwards, shortly after that, maybe 45 to an hour in. I definitely appreciate that, man. I got my coffee here. I'm sure you guys got your coffee, getting the day started off early this morning. Appreciate you. What's up, Tabitha? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Oh yeah, shout out to Eric and shout out to Seabergy pulling up yesterday, man. That was awesome. What's up, B? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. Now I'm just Biggest. I'm not gonna go all the way, with you. But what up, Biggest? How you doing this morning, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Denise? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. 2D Bug, what's going on? Bill Jekyll, appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Danila? How you doing this morning? South Florida in the house. Appreciate you. Yuck Foo Tube, appreciate you pulling up this morning. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you all hit that like button for me. We have 169 people in the building. What's up, Beth Ann? How you doing this morning? Make sure y'all hit that like button for me. Queen Chloe says she's moving to Granbury. Okay. When her hubby gets a job up there. Where is Granbury at? I'm not really I'm not sure where that is. Not sure where that is, but what's up, Jane? How you doing this morning? K-Row 3, how you doing this morning? What up, EDH? You made it. Shout out to you, brother. Appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Linda? Marla Foltz, appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Rachel? How you doing this morning? Kentucky in the house. Tracy Day, appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. Man, y'all got some names, man. Y'all make it real difficult. Okay. Shout out to you this morning. I'm not really sure, but I'm for certain the end of it is and blessed. I'm not sure what the front of that means. But if you could explain that to me in layman terms for me, but shout out to you. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. What's up, Brett Montgomery? What's going on with you, brother? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. What up, RJ Hudson? South Cac in the house, my cuz. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. What's up, Heather's Opinion? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. Marcia St. Nicholasy? Okay. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. West of Fort Worth. Okay. All right. I see you, Queen Chloe. What's up, Howard? How you doing this morning? Al Crutcher out of Maryland. All right. We got a decent amount of Marylanders that support and watch the show, man. Shout out, man. I love it. What's up, Sandra? How you doing this morning? And thank you very much. I appreciate you enjoying the show. Thank you very much. What's up, Gina King? How you doing this morning? Watching on X. Shout out to you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. What's up, Shakedown? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. We got some X watchers in the building. Shout out, man. What's up, Dr. Silla? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Okay, got it. YB Yolanda is loved, saved, and blessed. Outstanding. Thank you very much for that clarification. I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember that, but I'll definitely remember Yolanda for sure. I can remember that. So I'll see you next time. I definitely will remember that for sure. Definitely will remember that. But thank you very much, man. Thank you guys for pulling up. Please make sure you all hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already. What's up, Earl Grey? How you doing this morning? Shout out to Queen Chloe with the $9.99 super sticker. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I appreciate the love, man. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Please make sure you all hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already, man. That is all that we ask, when you do pull up. The other thing too is that if you feel like you want to support the channel, in another way, obviously join the ARP family, or you can buy your man a coffee. That link is in the description box below. Super chats will stop the show. Super thanks will stop the show as well, and they will get read out. I appreciate everybody that supports the show. I appreciate everybody that contributes to the show. I'm not 100% sure today if we'll open it up. We'll see how I feel, once we kind of get to the end of things. But we may open it up for a little bit to see if there's some folks that like to call in. Tomorrow is Friday, man. I tell you, man, these weeks are flying by. Goodness gracious. I cannot believe today's Thursday. It's Friday Eve. It's crazy. It is crazy how fast these weeks are flying by. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, we're already pretty much through the midway point of April, heading into May, man. Goodness gracious. Now, the days did not fly like this. They did not fly by like this when I was in school. It seemed like it would take forever. Christy, is today Wednesday? No, today is definitely not Wednesday. Today is Thursday, because today, gym day, was a boxing day. It was, yeah. But I tell you what, man, these days and weeks did not fly by like this when I was in elementary school, when I was looking forward to summer break and looking forward to, Christmas holidays and looking forward to my birthday. Time did not fly like this. This is crazy. It's like you get old and all of a sudden you blink and the week is over with. It's crazy. It is crazy. But let's get the show started, man. Like I said, man, hit that like button for me if you hadn't done so already. Super chats will stop the show. Super thanks will stop the show. Let's get into it.
Victoria Sparks of Indiana has become the latest lawmaker to face an uproar from angry constituents at a town hall event. It happened in her deep red district on Friday and Saturday, where the raucous crowd booed and jeered Sparks over her remarks about immigration.
Hey, Ace Brigade, yeah, I not professionally. I don't box professionally, but for exercise, so I box 2 days a week, with the trainer or whatever to help me out. So I do that 2 days a week, man. You got to do what you got to do, man, to try to, keep this body fine tuned. So, my boxing days are Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's how I know today was Thursday for sure, because, I got my tail kicked today.
Immigration, Doge cuts, and the fallout from the Signal group chat.
I want you to demand the immediate resignation of Pete Hegseth.
No, I will not demand their resignation.
My question is actually related to all of the immigrants that are being rounded up and deported. Are they entitled to due process?
A lot of these people, what President Trump did last time, what he tried, if you seek asylum way in the other country, you won't get it here in the country. So there is no due process if you not take a legal evidence. You violated the law. Period. You violated the law. If you violated the law, that's why we need to make sure we take this under control.
Another thing that's breaking through, I think, are these deportations, especially people being picked off the street. This comes as several Republican leaders have urged members in their party to refrain from conducting in-person town halls to avoid engaging with, quote, paid protesters. They accuse all those people of being paid protesters. Anna Applebaum, I'd love to talk to you about all of this. I mean, you're writing about the Hungarian model here and what is happening. But first, I want to ask you about this town hall and the reaction. Do you think some of the potentially autocratic moves that are being taken by this White House are beginning to penetrate even deep red districts as something is wrong here?
Yeah, look, I think that the obvious attempt to smear the messenger, to attack Jeffrey Goldberg, to attack The Atlantic, to attack journalists, when it's very obvious that the administration made a mistake using the Signal chat, is something that people can see.
All righty. So, man, it's a mess, man. It is a mess. It is. It really is. It really is. It is a mess. I mean, they are desperately trying to convince the American people that MAGA is fading. The data says the exact opposite, but that's what they're trying to do. I mean, the data does say the exact opposite. Trump voters are more loyal, more fired up, and more unshakable than ever before. The media's latest tactics, staged, stage managed town halls conveniently packed with quote unquote Republicans, that suddenly start to claim that they regret voting for the president. I think I can't remember who it was that said it. Maybe it was Yolanda, maybe it was Queen Chloe here in the chat that said that these people, they had to be bussed in. I'm right there. I am right there, in believing that. I am right there in the belief that, yeah, these people are what's the word I'm looking for? These people are paid to get out there and do what they were doing. It doesn't surprise me one bit. It just doesn't. Seriously.
Groups. Can I show that?
Yeah, go.
There's
a lot of babies getting tossed out of water, to use an old-fashioned phrase, in this first few weeks. And of course, as usual, and I'm disappointed about this with President Trump because he served before, we're just forfeiting respect internationally daily. If we had a drinking game where everyone took a drink when the word reverse course or walking this back, we'd be drunk in 20 minutes. It's chaos up there.
You can talk a good game. I'm just looking for the come through. I'm looking for, for the person that many of us voted for or didn't vote, which I'm just waiting to see what happens next. Things need time, and I'm very optimistic for change.
How's all this landing?
I think what we're starting to see is the very beginning of buyer's remorse setting in. And the voters that I was talking to both before the election and after the election that are kind of these, we say low information, but we just mean people who aren't tapped into politics all the time. They voted for Donald Trump for one very specific reason. They thought things were too expensive. And they still think things are too expensive. But now what you see is they're like, what is he focusing on? I didn't vote for this dismantling of the government. You may see a lot of terminally online people getting really excited about Doge. But as you can see, there's a lot of sort of more marginal voters who are looking at this and saying, well, this is chaotic. And the other thing is that, a lot of those people were doing, like I heard it from a friend or somebody I knew. It's not just the message that's getting out. It's that people are experiencing negative personal consequences as a result of this. And because what Musk is doing is so vast, right? It's going to have a lot of rippling effects across. It's not just people who work for the government. It's all of the people who do contract work or some other way. And it is all across the country. And so, Donald Trump, you can see it in the poll numbers. I can hear it in the focus groups. Like, it's already starting to turn. And that is a bad sign for Trump because.
I got a question for you guys. How many of y'all are experiencing, higher grocery prices or higher gas prices right now? How many of you guys are experiencing anything different than what we've, been experiencing over the past 3 to 4 years? I'm still trying to figure that out. I personally, I haven't seen it. And I'd like to know who are these quote unquote Republicans that they brought to that town hall that we showed earlier, and the people that they're talking to. I'd like to know who these people are. I mean, it's amazing they can get out here and you got people out here yelling. I'm like, since when you go to a town hall full of, conservatives that are yelling and screaming about an illegal immigrant that shouldn't be here, that had a deportation order from 2019, who also, by the way, had 2 restraining orders placed against him by his wife. I just find it hard to believe that the people at that town hall, these quote unquote, or these, so-called Republicans, who honestly sounded exactly like MSNBC contributors, in there screaming about an illegal immigrant. I just find it hard to believe. And the cherry on top is that the propagandists in the media showcase these clips back to back like it's some kind of Republican reckoning, but it's not real. It didn't even look real. It just didn't look real. It's just hard for me to believe that those were, real Republican voters. Just hard for me to believe that. It looked like, I could be wrong, but it looked like that these people were professional activists, liberal plants, media, handpicked, selected voices playing a daggone role. That's what it looked like to me. That's what it looked like to me. If anybody believed that what you saw there, in that town hall was organic, I mean, I've got a beachfront property for you, to sell you out in Iowa. Seriously. It just didn't look real. You had protesters screaming at Senator Chuck Grassley, accusing Trump of deporting innocent people, even demanding that Trump bring an illegal immigrant back from El Salvador. I mean, it's unbelievable, man. It's just hard for me to believe that these people are Republicans, are conservatives. It's just hard for me to believe that. Seriously.
Senator Grassley went off right
Just a minute until it's quiet so I can hear you.
So, Senator Grassley, right now we're not. I mean, right now we're not. These changes have been taking place, and that's what concerns me so much. It hurts.
No due process.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with laws.
I would welcome refugees and I would welcome people that need asylum.
Are you going to bring that guy back from El Salvador?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, because that's not a power of Congress.
The Supreme Court said to bring him back.
Judges are,
Yeah.
and the president isn't upholding the Constitution.
He's defined the
You're on the
Constitution.
Judiciary Committee.
Trump don't care.
If I get an order to pay a ticket for $1,200 and I just say no, does that stand up? Because he's got an order from the Supreme Court and he's just said no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just said, screw it.
I'll be able to answer your question.
You ignored my letter.
Guatemala, mine too, or El Salvador is an independent country. The president
Speak
of
up,
that
please.
country,
We can't hear you.
the president of that country is not subject to our U.S. Supreme Court.
The Trump wanted to bring him back. We're bringing him back. I'm pissed.
If we're paying him to keep him down there, we don't have to pay him.
Let's be civil.
Why are we paying the house we don't have control? The next subject here.
Excuse me, Senator. Senator, excuse me, on that same subject.
Hey,
Excuse me, Senator Grassley, on that same subject.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you, man. Hey, that did not sound real. It just didn't sound real. Somebody in the daggone chat, does that sound like something that you would hear at a Trump rally? I mean, it sounded staged. It sounded like they were reading the questions off. I mean, it didn't come across as real to me. It just didn't. It sounded like a line straight out, of an AOC town hall. And here's where it gets even better. CNN's own data nerds, they couldn't back up the narrative. Enter Harry Enton. Y'all familiar with him? I'm sure you are. He's the guy that, talks about the polls, and he does his presentation on CNN at least once, maybe every other week or so, about, the polls and, the approval ratings, so forth and so on. Harry Enton, he's their lead data analyst. He looked into all the emotional stories, CNN was pushing and went, wait a minute. That's not what the numbers show. That's not what the numbers show. That's not what I'm seeing. So now you have to ask, hey, how do the voters really feel? What are the voters really thinking? It's crazy. The propaganda is unbelievable, man.
Talk about Trump voters and how they feel. Do they regret their vote?
I mean, this is the big question, right? I hear all these stories, all these articles. All the Trump voters, they regret what they did back in 2024. I'm here to tell you, very few of them regret what they did back in 2024. What are we talking about? Trump voters looking back at 2024. We got a new poll out. The poll was conducted this month. What percentage would change their vote to a different candidate? We're talking just 2%, just 2%. That's not even a wide spot on the road. And then there's this additional 1% who say they would rather not vote. We're talking overall under 5% might or would have changed their vote, Donald Trump voters back in 2024. And then you ask, okay, the same question to Kamala Harris voters, and it turns out the numbers are rather similar. So if there was a repeat, if folks got to be able to redo their vote that they had back in 2024, would the result be any different? I doubt it would be. I doubt it would be, or it would still be extremely close. The bottom line is, for all this talk of Trump voters regretting their vote, in the numbers, it really just doesn't show up, John.
In the chat, put a 1 in the chat for me if you if you would vote the exact same way that you voted in November. If you wouldn't change anything, put a 1 in the chat for me. I mean, the narrative from these people is ridiculous. Seriously. Now, I get it. I understand. They got a job to do. They got to make it seem like it's not, it's worse than what it actually is. They got to make it seem like people are not just, rocking with everything that President Trump is doing. I get it. I get it. But according to CNN's own poll, only 2% of Trump voters say that they would have changed their vote in 2024. Now, what I find funny is they didn't poll the other way around. How many people who voted for Kamala Harris, how many of them would change their vote? I bet that number's higher than 2%. I bet that number's higher than 2%. And out of those 2%, 1% of the people said that they would have just stayed home, meaning that 97% are silently behind President Trump and everything that he's doing, even after, everything that the media is throwing at him. In the chat, what do y'all think? What's the percentage of people that voted for Kamala Harris this time around or back in November? What do you think the percentage would be of those people flipping their votes to President Trump right now? K-Shay said fuel prices in North Georgia and North Alabama are down $1 from last year. It was $3.68, now $2.69. Yeah, I'm noticing that too. Our gas prices up here hasn't come down that dramatically, but our gas prices, it's come down a little bit, just a little, not a lot, but a little. We're starting to see it. We're starting to see a difference. It definitely isn't going up. The crazy thing, man, is that after everything that these people, after everything that they've thrown at them, only 2% of people said that they would change their votes. 1% of people said that they wouldn't vote at all. And if anything, honestly, I believe that, Trump supporters are more enthusiastic than they were in 2020 and even 2016. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I've heard it with my own ears. There are people on social media that have come out and said, man, I cannot believe that I supported the Democrat Party or Kamala Harris. And if I could go back and change my vote, that they would change it. So I believe that there's probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 15, maybe 20% of people that supported the Democrat Party or Kamala Harris during that time frame that would have flipped their vote had they had the opportunity to do so. That's my guess. So yeah, I think the support is probably a little higher because people are fed up. They're fed up with the open borders and all the things that we're finding out. The new Social Security numbers that have been given out or produced, the amount of waste that we're finding. Yeah, people are like, man, I am glad that a lot of the things that are happening is happening. And the reality is that, the numbers, they're probably lower than than what CNN actually presented. It's probably lower because you got to take CNN with a grain of salt, man. It's a little skewed. So really and truly, support is probably getting stronger, not weaker. Now you got to ask yourself, why would Trump supporters regret voting for President Trump at this point? The things that he campaigned on is he's actually following through. The promises that he made on the campaign trail, he's actually following through. Under President Trump, right now, inflation is falling. Inflation is falling. It's coming down. The border is being secured. Mass deportations are happening. These are things that we voted on. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist and I don't claim to be the smartest person, in the world. But what I do know is that when inflation starts to come down, I do know that prices will come down. It just doesn't happen immediately. That I do know. Everybody thinks that he was supposed to get in office, be in there. You do realize that it's still been less than 100 days. And everybody thinks that he's supposed to get in there and snap of a finger, and all of a sudden interest rates are going to come down dramatically. Prices are going to come down. The cost of gas is going to come down dramatically. All these jobs are going to open up. Although in the month of March, there was actually $200,000 or 200,000 new jobs open. So private sector is starting to get back to hiring again. In the private sector, that's starting to happen. Yeah. So the things that he campaigned on, those promises, he's trying to come through. We also aren't launching any new wars across the globe. We're trying to get the Ukraine situation in check. China is being put in check. They're not being coddled. And the woke agenda right now is on life support. And I'm looking forward to him just completely pulling the plug on that. Meanwhile, what we do know is that if Kamala had won, you'd be looking at more illegal immigration. You want to talk about 20 million? We might have got another, 40 million people up in here, which would have fundamentally changed the full demographic of this nation had she got another 4 years to allow another 20 million people. You're talking about 40 million new people coming into this country that hadn't paid a dime into the system. And then they're having kids and they're bringing their children. You're talking about a fundamental change to this nation. Had Kamala Harris won, you'd be looking at more illegal immigration, more drag shows in your kids' curriculum, more DEI-driven insanity in every federal agency, not to mention taxes through the roof. They already told you they planned on raising the taxes. Job losses, more job losses to China, and a military stretched extremely thin. Now I'm sitting there looking at that and I'm like, yo, there's not a whole heck of a lot to regret. There isn't. EDH, you're absolutely right. Kamala Harris would have destroyed the nation. We would have been bankrupt by the time her 4 years was up. A Kamala Harris win would have fundamentally changed the nation forever. And it might have been we might have been in a situation where the hole was too deep to get out of. I'm telling you, man, we dodged a freaking missile. Seriously. And it's bad when James Carville is begging for a divorce within the Democrat Party. Things are bad. There is a crack in the foundation, and it's a deep crack in the foundation of the Democrat Party. I'm 1,000% here for it. But James Carville, hey, take him with a grain of salt as well. But he went on air and basically said, hey, it's time to split up the party. He wants to split the Democrat Party into two. Let the far left progressives do their own thing, and we'll meet up after the election. That's where the Democrat Party is right now. They want to split the party down the middle and let the far left progressive go their own way. That's where they are right now. That's how bad things are right now in the Democrat Party.
Are united in something is we both think that Trump in particular, but Republicans mostly in general, are contemptuous people that have terrible ideas that have been proven wrong time and time again. And so how does the progressive urban identity left live in the same universe as the pragmatic governing left of center?
Somebody in the chat, explain to me what James Carville meant by the progressive urban left. What is he meaning by that?
People, most of them happen to be elected officials. And maybe the answer is we can't. All right, I'm suggesting that maybe after I saw what happened on April 7th with American Voices, after, in my opinion, which was just devastating and to somewhat humiliating defeat, and particularly unnecessary defeat that we had. And in my view, I'm certainly open to have, and people can call me back. I'd be glad to interview you. That your wildly naive and impractical worldview is not consistent with electoral majorities. So maybe we need to have a schism. Maybe you got plenty different, the Justice Party, the Working Families Party, the Socialist Party. The only thing I'd ask is just don't use the word Democratic in any title that you have, because most Democrats that I know that are running for office don't want your name, don't want you to be part of the deal. Yeah, they would be glad to take your votes. Who wouldn't? Everybody wants to get as many votes as they can. Maybe you come up with your own name. And by the way, nothing against, after the election, can sit down and do like is done in parliamentary governments or governments around the world. You sit down and you say, okay, we want to be part of a governing majority, and we have these things that we want you to do to bring us in, and we have negotiations, and we figure a way that we can live with different parties, different titles, but under the same general philosophical roof. As I've always said, been very clear that most of the things at the faculty lounge or identity left wants, 85% of them I want to. We'd like to expand opportunity for people. We'd like to expand people that have health care. We'd like to do more to help young voters. We think that environmental problems are totally crushing that we face. We want solutions there. We think income inequality is a terrible thing, and we've got to do certain things to address it. Like, okay, we can raise taxes on incomes over $400,000 a year, raise the minimum wage. These are things that we can work on. I don't think we.
Oh man, he's hard to listen to. I'm not gonna lie to you. You guys know it. He's hard to listen to. But when he says that we have to, we got to split from the urban, they are literally eating their own. They're eating their own. He wants to move away from the far left progressives because he knows that they're the policies that they want to implement, they are loser policies. They're loser policies. He knows it. He knows it. They're loser policies. Y'all are cruel in it. Somebody said he looks like the Crypt Keeper. Y'all are a mess, man. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, the Democrats, they have a lot of problems. They have a lot of problems. They have a man problem because they don't want, strong, they don't want strong heterosexual men. They have a Christian problem because they don't really want people who really follow the word. They don't want those people. Shout out to True Texan with the $5 super chat. He says James Carville and Karl Rove need to find a rock and crawl under it. Both are blank. They both suck. I'm not really sure what IMO. I'm old, man. I don't know what IMO means. Not a dime worth a delta between the two. I'm gonna need somebody to explain what this IMO means. I'm sure somebody has before, but I can't remember, and I don't use a lot of these acronyms. I'm getting up in age, man. I'm getting up there where I'm like, man, these young people, in my opinion, got you. Thank you, EDH. Now, how are you more up on things, EDH, than I am? Goodness gracious. Thank you for the super chat, man, and thank you very much. I do agree that they both definitely should crawl up under a rock for sure. But I will say that what James Carville said, it's a little incoherent. Obviously, he's an older guy, and he loves his Bud Light. But what he was saying is probably not wrong. It's just they're not going to do it. Anybody in the Democrat Party that tries to go towards the center and to some semblance of sanity, the far left progressives, they come out the woodworks and they'll end your campaign before it gets started. They'll end your campaign before it gets started. So in the Democrat Party, if you are a true follower of the word, and you're don't necessarily rock with the alphabet community, you don't rock with the the trans community, you don't really have a chance in that party. You just don't. And that's why, for the life of me, I don't understand, why I don't worry about anybody else. Now, hear me now. I don't worry about most other people, but I do have a problem with people that consider themselves follower of Christ, but also Democrat supporters. I do have a problem with that because the ideology is antithetical to each other. I don't know how you can call yourself this, but support these people. I just don't know how you do it. The crazy thing is that, he knows, Carville that is, he knows that the AOC wing of the Democrat Party, it's toxic as all get out. It's toxic. These aren't mainstream liberals. They're activists who think, men can get pregnant and that MS-13 members should be given housing benefits. I mean, the far left, and we probably shouldn't call them the far left. We really should just call them the MP, MP USA, the Marxist Party of the United States, or you could call them the CPUSA, the Communist Party of the United States. That's really, what that wing of things is or are. They've taken over the Democrat Party. Yeah, Dr. Silla, you're absolutely right. That was the main platform. And I would try to have conversations with people, about that. I'm like, her entire platform, the number one platform that she was running on was pregnancy terminations. And when they asked about, any limits or anything along those lines, should there be any restrictions? Should there be any limits? She sidestepped the question. Now, I don't know if you guys know this. There are a few states out there that will allow a pregnancy termination to full term, all the way up to the 9th month, to crowning. There is a few states. Maryland is one of those states that a pregnancy termination can happen all the way up to the 9th month. And we had a candidate run for president, and that was the number one platform. That was the number one platform right there. And older school Democrats, I think they see it and they realize that we're not going to be able to win races. We're not going to win major elections with these people being the voice of the party. They know that the far left has taken over. And people like Carville, and there's a few others out there, they see the writing on the wall. The progressive base, it isn't just unpopular, it's political poison. It's poison. Their ideology is poison. Their policies are poisonous to the nation. So, no, I don't believe that there is a mass buyer's remorse happening here. I just don't believe it. I just do not believe that there is a mass buyer's remorse happening right now. I just don't. In fact, Trump's base, I mean, in my opinion, Trump's base is holding strong, and more people are starting to register either as Republican or going independent. More people have either, basically just said the heck with the Democrat Party and have gone independent, or they have gone Republican. And the numbers don't lie, and neither does the energy. The people who voted for Trump aren't just sticking with them, they're actually doubling down. And NBC News, they dropped the stat, that made every liberal influencer cry. They dropped the stat that made every influencer cry. Back in January 2024, 20% of Americans identified with the MAGA movement. By March 2025, that number jumped to 36%. That number jumped to 36%, and I would assume that that number is going to continue to grow. Because what I will say, and I've talked to people and I talk to people at the gym, what I do say, even the people that don't like Trump and they do not like the MAGA movement, what they all have told me, the people that I've talked to, is like, hey, he is doing what he said he was going to do. The things that he said he was going to do on the campaign trail, he is doing it. And that's more than you can say about any of these Democrats. They get into office, they promise the world, give you nothing. And then they'll do it again in a couple years when they need your vote again. Let me say that again, man. Over 1/3 of the country now openly identifies with the MAGA movement. 1/3 of the country, and I would assume that that number is going to continue to grow. It's not going to shrink. That is a massive amount of people. When you have 1/3 identifying with the MAGA movement. And the reason is simple, man. Democrat policies don't make sense. They just don't. Their policies are misaligned with the views of majority of Americans who actually care about safety, who actually care about the economy, who care about national security, who care about the rule of law. Hey, people are watching. They see these Democrats bending over backwards to defend criminal migrants. A lot of people are asking, even people on the left, what is so special about this Garcia guy? What is so special about this guy? A lot of people are asking that question. A lot. Even people on the left are like, hey, we got homeless people that need help. And I haven't seen anybody jump out there the way they've jumped out there, for this Abreu Garcia guy. We hadn't seen that at all.
First of all, I'm more than happy to hear the congressman say they're all going to El Salvador. I think for Republicans, this just confirms what we have believed about the Democratic Party and why it currently has a 21% approval rating in Congress. Look where the energy in the Democratic Party is. It's around retrieving illegal aliens from El Salvador. It's around fighting for these college campuses that have been rife with anti-Semitism. It's around biological males who want to play in girls' sports. This is why they are losing to Donald Trump every day, because the energy that Democrats feel comes on all these issues that are fundamentally not where the American people are.
Congressman, one second. Congressman, can I give you the chance to respond to that?
Donald Trump. Yeah, I mean, it's Donald Trump that's actually losing the support of the American people. Donald Trump's not focused on lowering the costs of housing, not focused on lowering the price of goods. He's out there deporting people that have legal status to be here, revoking student visas from students that are contributing to this country.
He doesn't have legal status to be here, Congressman. He has a deportation order. You're going to go to El Salvador. You're going to go to maybe go to the grocery store. Like, there's an issue here where you could possibly win on, but you're going to El Salvador instead.
It's okay that someone walking into getting their citizenship, walking into their citizenship test, their citizenship meeting, is being apprehended on the way into their next process, which just happened to somebody in Vermont, and it's happening now across the country. Students are being deported and revoked of their student visas. Yes. Many are not being told why that's the case. That should not be happening in the United States. And certainly, someone shouldn't be deported and being left in a prison in a foreign country when the Supreme Court says they should be returned back. And so those are the questions. And by the way, as Democrats and as a Congress and a government, we should be able to do multiple things at the same time. We should be able to take on billionaires who are raiding the government. We should be able to take on Elon Musk, who has no business being in charge of Doge. And yes, protecting the civil rights and human rights of people that are in this country and entrusted to us. And so, yes, Scott, we can do all of those things. And it's Donald Trump who actually defined the Supreme Court and whose numbers are going down.
Kate Bedingfield.
I would also just say to your the energy from Democrats on these issues. Let's also look at the elections that have taken place since November.
Okay, so goodness gracious. All right. So the media has, and I'm assuming that they will continue to defend Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This Abrego Garcia guy, they're going to continue to defend him. They're calling him a husband, a good Maryland man. A good Maryland man. And, it turns out that this quote unquote upstanding citizen, it turns out that, his wife sought a domestic violence restraining order against him, claiming that, he punched, scratched, and ripped her shirt, among other things. Not once, but twice. This is supposed to be a good person. Not once, but twice. Shout out to Jeff with the $11 super chat. Thank you very much, brother. If this is the hill the DNC wishes to die on, they will do so in the elections. FAFO. Y'all know what that means. F around and find out. Shout out to Jeff with the $11 super chat. I'm gonna get on y'all about this daggone punctuation. I gotta read it and then fix it in my head. Shout out to Jeff, man. Appreciate you, brother. But as you can see here, this, and I hate to put the brother's business out there, man, because this isn't really something that we should be doing. We shouldn't be putting folks' business out there, but this is public information, and it turns out that, hey, this is real. This is a fact. And despite all the media lies, yeah, a member of MS-13. This is real stuff, man. This is real stuff. Man, I just don't understand why this is the hill that they want to die on. And I don't understand what's so special about this particular individual. I just don't. And despite all of this, all of the evidence, despite this, all of it, they don't care. Democrats are still on a mission. They are still on a mission to rescue this dude, quote unquote rescue, to go get this dude back from El Salvador. I just don't understand it. Senator Van Hollen from Maryland, he is one of the senators here in Maryland. One of the senators here in Maryland. We got way bigger fish to fry here in this daggone state than this dude flying down to daggone El Salvador to go petition for this dude to be let go. So now we got a U.S. senator spending taxpayer money to go down to El Salvador, to try to bring this dude back. And then he goes down, he goes down there to complain that El Salvador denied his request to meet with him. I don't understand how he thought that this was going to play out. I really don't. I mean, the grandstanding is it's just unbelievable with these guys, man. It's unbelievable.
Also told his wife and family that I would try to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia while I was here. So I asked the vice president if I could meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. And he said, well, you need to make earlier provisions to go visit CCOT. I said, I'm not interested at this moment in taking a tour of CCOT. I just want to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he was not able to make that happen. He said he need a little more time. I asked him if I came back next week, whether I'd be able to see Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he couldn't promise that either. So I asked him if I could get on the phone, either video phone or just a phone, and talk to Mr. Abrego Garcia. So I could just ask him how he's doing so I could report back to his family. He said he could not arrange that. He said maybe if the American embassy were to ask, maybe that could happen. So I will certainly ask the American embassy to ask the government of El Salvador to connect us by phone. I asked him how about his family? How can he talk to his wife so that she can hear his voice? I let him know that the family has requested that. He said he was not sure whether he could make that happen. So we have an unjust situation here. The Trump administration is lying about Abrego Garcia.
Now, last time I checked, the Democrat Party is the party that says protect all women. And I'm right there with them. We should be protecting women. We should. But it seems like when you start looking at the Democrat Party, their policies are anti-protecting women. If you guys recall, they voted in lockstep to allow men and women's sports, voted in lockstep for that. This dude, not only, the thing is what you guys got to understand is there's two restraining orders against this guy for domestic violence. Now, you guys know that typically when these types of disputes happen and when someone gets to a point that they want to file a restraining order, before that happens, he's probably put his hands on her a multitude of times prior to that. And then she got fed up and decided, I'm going to do something. I'm going to call the police. And then it happened again and she had to do it again. I mean, it is crazy to me. And I know they pulled the lady, up, and she got out there. She was at the they had a press conference the other day, and she was up there saying that how good of a guy he is, and this, that, and the third. And I'm sure that they probably slid her a couple of dollars to say that, but it's just hard for me to believe that a woman would get up there after a dude done whipped your tail multiple times, and two of the times that we know for sure, and you get up there and say he a good dude. And typically, before you get to a point to where you call the police, or before you get to a point to where a restraining order has been placed, it normally happens a few times before that. That's what it seems like. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, this is a wild concept that foreign countries aren't extensions of the U.S. jurisdictions. I mean, remember when members of Congress weren't allowed to, they weren't allowed to visit any of the J6ers in jail. They were not. But, I mean, I don't know, man. Even CNN and other networks are framing this as Trump kidnapped an innocent immigrant. That's the story that the mainstream media is running with right now. These are the same people who will not say Rachel Morin's name. She was a young lady out here in Maryland, that was unalive. She has 5 children by one of these gang members. This dude that was one of these guys that were up here illegally. They will not have a conversation about her. I don't even know if this Senator Van Hollen, because this situation, it happened in Maryland. I don't even know if the senator actually went to go talk to, Rachel Morin's children or her family to give their condolences. I'm sure, but you can fly down to El Salvador for this guy. I mean, it is insane. They will not mention Rachel Morin's name. But these are the same people crying over a guy with documented gang ties and documented domestic violence on his jacket. I mean, it's documented. Rachel Moore's her own mother said it best. I mean, she never heard a word. She never heard a word from any of the Democrats in this state. None. Not one call, no condolences, nothing. But Van Hollen, Maryland state senator, I'm sorry, not Maryland state senator, but Maryland senator, has the time to fly across the daggone world for a gangbanger. I mean, it is a complete slap in the face. Complete slap in the face. Not just of Marylanders, not just of, Rachel Morin's family, but it should be a slap in the face for Americans all across this country, man. These people are despicable, man.
To carry a baby in your womb, or to feel those first kicks, or to know just intuitively if it's a boy or a girl. It's only a thing that a mother knows. Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledged my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. Why does that person have more right than I do, or my daughter, or my grandchildren? I don't understand this. Thank you. Thank you.
Sad, man. Sad. Sad. And you want to know why Trump voters are loyal. Not just 5 babies. 5 babies lost their mother and a grandchild who will never get a chance to meet their grandmother. This is why the MAGA movement is growing. This is why a lot of the Trump supporters, the loyalty is there. It's because President Trump, he acts, he makes moves. It's not a bunch of talk. He's about action. And in the meantime, you got the left playing sympathy Olympics for cartel thugs, gang members that shouldn't be here. The Trump administration is out here getting things done. This MAGA movement, man, it's not a fringe movement. It is becoming more and more mainstream. The MAGA movement, it's diverse, it's working class, it's real. And no amount of fake regret stories will change that. So if the leftist mainstream media and the Democrats, if they think that they can gaslight folks, into thinking that, hey, this is a losing effort. Hey, I got news for him, man. I got news for him. This is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. We got to move into the other story. I don't know if you guys have heard, but LA County is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, man, but LA County is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. There was just a record-shattering $4 billion settlement. Hear me now. $4 billion settlement to settle over 6,800 claims of child abuse, child SA, in juvenile facilities and foster homes going back to 1959, stemming from what victims call a house of horrors at a place like McLaurin's Children's Center in El Monte, which shut down in 2003 after decades of alleged abuse. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. I don't know why this story hasn't made it national. I don't know why this story has not made it national, but a $4 billion settlement. 6,800 victims. 6,800 victims of child SA in LA County. Now, you know that LA County, they're already strapped for cash. They're already strapped for cash with federal funding cuts and wildfire recovery costs. It's off by raiding reserves, raiding the reserve funds, issuing bonds, and they're also planning to cut county budgets all the way through 2050. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. I don't know. If you've heard about this, put a 1 in the chat if you have heard about this particular story here. We're going to get into it, but this is crazy. 6,800 victims. 6,800. It's awful, man.
LA County is preparing to pay out a record $4 billion. It's to settle thousands of child sex abuse claims. The crimes allegedly happen inside county juvenile facilities and foster care homes over several decades. KCAL News political reporter Tom Wade is here. How this historic agreement was reached and what it means going forward, Tom.
Yeah, Pat, I mean, it's just hard to wrap your mind around how vulnerable these kids were in these facilities at a time when they needed help, and
and it got to this.
And it got to that, exactly. Yeah, the aftermath of this abuse scandal will last for decades. This settlement so massive, it rivals the payouts made by the Boy Scouts of America and the Catholic Church. LA County taxpayers will pay out $4 billion to help atone for alleged child sexual abuse crimes stretching back decades. The majority of claims included in the settlement involved alleged abuse that occurred in County Probation Department juvenile facilities, and specifically in the McLaurin Children's Center in El Monte, which closed in 2003. Patrick McNicholas's law firm is representing 1,200 people in the case.
At this point in time, the purpose of the settlement was for restorative justice. What does that mean? That means obviously that there's compensation for each and every one of the victims who've been subjected to this horrific treatment and have lived with it for years and years.
McNicholas says his clients endured unimaginable abuse.
Abuse really includes anything and everything you can think of, including physical, emotional, and especially sexual abuse. So everything on that spectrum.
County supervisors will have to approve the settlement, which they are expected to do. The county CEO releasing a statement saying, on behalf of the county, I apologize wholeheartedly to everyone who was harmed by these reprehensible acts. As a result of the abuse claims, LA County overhauled how it responds to complaints with new oversight measures, including a countywide hotline for reporting child sexual abuse allegations against county employees and developing a system for expedited investigations and independent review by outside experts. But those changes cannot undo the past. The historic settlement will forever be a stain on LA County.
We're talking about a settlement that eclipses the settlement related to the Catholic Church's abuses. We're talking about a settlement that eclipses the Boy Scouts of America's abuses. We're talking about really a huge $4 billion settlement here that will impact the county's finances for years to come.
Yeah, and just for context on that, the county's entire budget for this year is nearly $50 billion. The settlement also has to be approved by a court. The costs will be paid through a combination of reserve funds, bonds, and cuts in department budgets. And the county saying this will last until 2051. Pat.
Thanks so much, Tom.
Goodness gracious. So each victim is looking at receiving 588, we'll say, we'll round up and say $590,000 a piece. I would assume that there's probably going to be some interest on top of that, because I don't think that LA County has this money to just give. So I would assume that these people are going to receive these settlements. I mean, I'm assuming in payments. That'd be my guess. And when you owe, not only are you going to do it in payments, but you're going to have those interest on it because you owe this money. But this is heartbreaking, man. This is heartbreaking. And the victims, they deserve justice. They do. But unfortunately, taxpayers are going to foot this bill. And they're going to be footing this bill for decades because the county chose not to protect children. They're going to be footing this bill up to 2050. This, I would assume that this probably could bankrupt the daggone county. I haven't heard of anybody going to jail behind this. I don't know if there's, any criminal cases behind this. I'm not sure. But if I lived in LA County, I would be looking to get up out of there, because I would be feeling like, why should I pay for the county's negligence? Why should I pay for them allowing, this negligence and this abuse to go on unchecked for years? If I was out in LA County, I would be getting up out of there. But this is a textbook example of LA County, and let's just keep it let's just keep it a buck. Democrat mismanagement at its worst. I mean, for decades, 6,800 victims for decades. They turned a blind eye to what was happening in places like McLaren's Children's Center, where this type of abuse, it just became a part of the culture. No transparency, no accountability, just a festering mess while kids suffered. And who's been running LA County the entire time? Who's been in charge of the county? The faces change, but the party stays the same. The faces change, but the party stays the same. The Democrats have a monopoly out there. They've controlled everything. They've controlled board of supervisors forever. And these people, they have failed these kids at every turn. At every turn. Whether it was, whether it was not vetting probation officers properly, letting facilities like, McLaren House turn into a house of horrors for these young people. And let's not forget, man, LA counties, they're already, a financial disaster. They're already in trouble. They're already suffering from federal funding cuts from President Trump. Millions spent on the Eaton and the Palisades fires. And now you add this. Oh my goodness, man, they're in trouble. This is what happens when Democrats prioritize political posturing over real governance. They let predators run wild. Kids got hurt. And now they're going to stick up the daggone hardworking American people out there to pay for it. I mean, it's an absolute disgrace. And taxpayers deserve better than this clown show. They do. They deserve better. And it's not just the settlement. LA County's budget cuts are hitting hard. And I mean, it's a disaster waiting to happen. How long will it be before we find out or hear that, hey, LA County went bankrupt? They recently just rolled out a $47.9 billion budget plan that slashes spending by 3% across most departments. That's $88.9 million in cuts, including $50 million from delaying equipment purchases, cutting supplies, and scaling back programs. They're also eliminating 310 vacant positions because they can't afford to pay them. But they did say, hey, the people out in LA County, if you work for the county, don't worry about it because they don't plan on doing any layoffs. But I would assume that was before this $4 billion settlement. Supervisor Janice Hahn had the nerve to call this a different budget because they're in tough times. That's what she said. They're in tough times. I thought it was a joke, but it's not. I mean, yeah, of course. No kidding. This is definitely tough times. And it's not just the $4 billion settlement that they're juggling. The county is also dealing with $2 billion in costs from the January wildfires. 30 people lost their lives, 17,000 structures destroyed. I mean, it is a mess over there. It is a mess over there. It is. It's crazy, man. And unfortunately, mainstream media will not pick up the story. It's sad. It really is.
It's about 3 hours away from LA leaders weighing in on the county's new proposed budget. Now, that budget recommends some very crucial cuts, leaving many questions like from where and for what programs. NBC4's Michelle Valles is live in downtown LA with some of these proposals. This has a lot of people, Michelle, very nervous.
Absolutely. You know, the budget, good morning, everyone, is at $48 billion, lower than years past. But the county CEO is really trying to avoid layoffs. But to do that, they have to make $89 million in budget cuts. That's to help pay for the fire recovery costs in January and the sex abuse settlement cases, which are the largest in U.S. history. To close that budget gap, the county would leave 310 vacant positions unfilled and would have multiple government departments really slashing their budget by 3%. But again, this would mean no layoffs in the 2025-26 fiscal year. The close to $48 billion budget includes $4 billion to pay off the nearly 7,000 sexual abuse claims against county employees, mostly from probation camps and juvenile halls. The settlements are expected to be paid out through a combination of county funds, budget cuts, and borrowing over a number of years if approved.
This is not a 1 year, not even a 1 decade impact. We anticipate that we will be paying hundreds of millions of dollars every year until 2030.
And that is money being taken away from county services, except for homeless programs, youth development, parks and recs. Those will stay, according to the proposal. The county CEO says we are in uncharted territory, adding that there was a 41% decline in home sales, which impacted the property tax revenue. So she's going to propose this budget today with the board, and then next month there will be public hearing. The final recommendations for the budget will come in June. In downtown LA, I'm Michelle Valles.
And Dr. Silly, you're right. No conversation around prevention or doing anything to make sure that this type of stuff doesn't happen. Yeah, and Christy, the homeless programs, I mean, they've spent millions of dollars on the homeless program, and it's only exacerbated the situation. I mean, it's crazy, man. But let's talk about these fire cuts real fast, because this is where it gets really scary. Because back in January, Fire Chief Kristen Crawley, she warned that budget cuts were already hampering their ability to respond to emergencies. $7 million was cut from the fire department's overtime budget last year, leaving them understaffed while 36,000 acres burned in Eaton and Palisade fires. They already cut money from the budget. And now with this new $88.9 million, in budget cuts, You're delaying equipment purchases. Think about this now. If they're delaying equipment purchases, we're talking trucks, hoses, gear. These are the things that firefighters need to do their jobs. Firefighters was out earlier this week, rallying outside the board supervisor meeting, begging for the resources that they need to keep the citizens safe out there. But the county's too busy paying for their own failures to care. They're also waiting on FEMA reimbursements that could take years, so taxpayers are basically stuck covering these costs in the meantime while wildfire season looms just months away. This isn't the end. They had these wildfires, but I mean, it's coming back around. It's going to get hot. It's going to get dry. They got a lot of homeless folks out there sleeping out, and sleeping out in the woods and things of that nature. It's crazy. It is beyond reckless. And it's a public safety crisis in the making. California is a mess right now. And you can't really blame anybody but their leadership out there, which happens to be majority Democrat. I mean, that's plain and simple, man. They got a stronghold out there. Those folks, man, they've been running LA County for decades. And the fiscal mismanagement, I mean, it's led to a complete mess. Whether it's letting predators abuse kids for years or leaving firefighters high and dry while the counties burn. I mean, they're more focused on pet projects like $571.6 million to care for Care First social programs, than on the basis of, things like fire protection. How much money is being spent on illegal immigrants out there? How much money has been spent on the homeless issue out there? How much money has been spent on supplying paraphernalia for drug addicts? I mean, it's a complete slap in the face to every law-abiding citizen, every taxpayer, out there who just wants to feel safe in their own home. And it's past time for LA County to get their act together, man, before more lives are lost, before more kids are abused. I mean, it's crazy, man. I don't know how I understand why people live out there. I understand why. Because of the weather. I mean, it is beautiful out there. I don't know how many of you guys have been to LA, been down to Southern California in general, LA, San Diego. I mean, it is gorgeous out there. It is beautiful. Shout out to True Texan with the $2 super chat. Says that maybe California needs the same FEMA response as North Carolina. Hey, True Texan. Oh man, I understand the premise, but we can't fight fire with fire like that. That's not how we solve problems. That's not how we solve things. And, I'm a firm believer, hey, man, you love your neighbor as you would love yourself. And even when they do you wrong, you are obligated to love your enemies as well. Even when you feel like they've wronged you, we have a responsibility to do the right thing. It's unfortunate, man. I haven't been to California in a while. It's been a long time since I've been to California, but it's beautiful out there, man. So I understand why people live out there, but it's almost going to be a situation where it's going to be uninhabitable out there. Not because of the weather or anything else, but because the taxes are going to be too crazy. The fines are going to be too crazy. The fees are going to be crazy. Property tax is going to go up. You would assume that income tax is going to go up. How else are they going to pay for this? They're in trouble, man. They are in big trouble. And it's just unfortunate because a settlement like this, you would think that it would have been a mainstream media story to hear about 6,800 young people being abused and receiving a $4 billion settlement, which would equate to, we'll round up to $590,000 per person. That's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. But on the flip side of that, we also hadn't heard that, there's been some people that, that have gone down, that have been arrested, that have been charged, with these crimes. I mean, it's crazy, man. But I appreciate you guys pulling up this morning, as always, man. I appreciate you guys pulling up. It is Thursday. I hope Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. That is pretty much all I have for you all today. I was going to open it up for call-ins, but I'm not going to do that today. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow when we do our, when we do the panel show. Maybe we'll have some people call in tomorrow. But as always, man, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you to all the Blues who, keep things civil in the chat and put all the information out, keep everybody abreast of what's going on. Shout out to everybody that pulled up this morning, to those that supported the channel financially. Appreciate you all as well. And I hope you guys, man, enjoy the rest of the day. Keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Y'all take care. Peace.
Vibes so